Man, I love Shining Force. You already know this, but I had to just state it right off the top because it's getting harder and harder to do new Shining Force related content since there hasn't been a new game in like 25 years. Sure, there are all those quote-unquote modern Shining games, but they don't count. Plus, the PS2 and PSP games aren't modern anymore, are they? But hey, there's still some Shining content I haven't talked about yet. And yes, the Shining the Holy Ark video will still come out at some point, but right now, I want to talk about Shining Force for the Game Boy Advance. Yes, that's right, there was a remake of the original Shining Force released for the GBA, and it's pretty good. Mostly pretty good. Shining Force: The Resurrection of Dark Dragon was released for the Nintendo Game Boy Advance in 2004. That's 12 years after the original title was released for the Sega Genesis, and 22 years ago from right now. The remake was developed by Amusement Vision, and the game was published by Sega in Japan. The game was then later published by Atlus in North America, and by THQ, oddly enough, in Europe. So yeah, we're already bumping up against controversy. I have talked many times about Sega's seeming allergic reactions to its legacy IPs, and the fact that they wouldn't publish a Shining Force remake outside of Japan kind of reinforces this fact. Thankfully, Atlus and THQ saved the day. Also, the game wasn't done by Camelot or Climax Entertainment like you would expect. The game was remade by Amusement Vision. Amusement Vision was a development subsidiary of Sega who opened their doors in 2000 and then closed those doors in 2004. They mostly did arcade games for Sega, lots of titles on the Naomi boards, games like Virtua Striker 3, Planet Harriers, and Slash Out. They also did a couple of Super Monkey Ball games for multiple systems, including the GBA, GameCube, and the N-Gage. So yeah, not a great resume, but all of these caveats aside, Resurrection of Dark Dragon is pretty solid and a fun play. Alright, so since I've already done a video on the original Shining Force, instead of retreading all of the information I talked about in that game, what I'm going to do for this video, I'm going to break things down into 3 different categories. We're going to talk about the stuff that I like in this version, the stuff I don't like in this version, and the stuff that I'm ambivalent to in this version. Because for the most part, a lot of this game plays similar or exactly the same as the original Shining Force. You walk around in a town, you talk to people, you go to shops, you do a Shining Force battle. If you've played any Shining Force game, you kind of already know what you're getting yourself into. I want to focus on the new content and the changes from the original game to this game. So let's start off with the stuff that I do like in Shining Force: The Resurrection of Dark Dragon. 3 brand new recruitable members of the Shining Force. That's right, you've got 3 brand new characters to recruit in Resurrection of the Dark Dragon. Narsha, the Princess of Runefaust, she's an excellent melee fighter and an excellent healer. Zuiko, who is a ninja bugman. He's a glass cannon to end all glass cannons. Very powerful but low defense. He's got this really unique ability once he's promoted that if he takes a large amount of damage, he'll sacrifice his defense to increase his other stats, making him much stronger with an obscene movement range. Lastly, you can also recruit Moloch, who is this weird monster man who uses cards in combat. That's right, cards. We'll talk about the cards a little bit later in the list. Character dialogue. Your recruited characters in the original Shining Force didn't have a lot to say. Once characters join, they usually totally shut up for the rest of the game. They have 1 or 2 phrases they'll utter in headquarters whenever you talk to them, but that's about it. Now, they pretty much have something new to say after every single battle. If you talk to a character enough, they'll eventually give you their card. So yeah, it's great to see that these characters finally get a little bit of personality. Enemy levels. Deal enough damage to enemy units and you'll be able to see their level. This is a good indication of toughness, but it's also a good metric to know who's good to kill for experience for leveling up your characters. Victory conditions / clear bonus window. Before battles, you get a Fire Emblem, steady boys, style window that gives you information on what the battle's victory conditions are. It also gives you information on the battle's clear bonus, which is also a new thing, so let's talk about that here. Clear bonus. Hey, if you finish a battle with completing the clear bonus requirements, you get goodies. Usually the clear requirement is beat the stage in X turns, and the reward sometimes is just a pile of gold, but sometimes it's a new weapon created specifically for this game. The run button. This game's got a fucking run button! Magic resistance. Hey, it's a brand new statistic. Magic resistance makes enemy magic hit less hard. It's very good when you're up against assholes like Michaela or the Colossus. You can now skip over jingles. In the OG Shining Force, whenever you would raise a dead unit or save the game, a cute little jingle would play. Now don't get me wrong, these are catchy little pieces of music. But when you have to raise 5 or 6 dead characters, hearing that jingle 5 or 6 times gets annoying. And in the original game, you couldn't skip them. You had to listen through them every single time. But now, with the single push of a button, you can skip through jingles. Hallelujah. Hanzo and Musashi join earlier, and you get to watch them grow. So, one of the big criticisms with the OG game is that some characters join very late into the story. 2 of these characters are Hanzo the ninja and Musashi the samurai. Musashi joins in Chapter 7, and Hanzo joins in Chapter 8, the final chapter of the game. They both join promoted and at pretty decent levels, and both are very strong characters. Right out of the box, they both kick ass. They come with their own awesome weapons and great stats, and Hanzo has a handful of really good spells. But now, in Resurrection of the Dark Dragon, Hanzo joins in Chapter 5, and Musashi joins in Chapter 6. And they both join unpromoted. So now you can level them up and see them grow. You also get to choose what level you promote them at, so you can control on whether you want to promote them right away and see their stats boost like crazy, or wait until later when they're level 20 and see their stats go up in smaller increments. And when they both join you, they're still pretty strong, so it's not a huge problem getting them promoted. There is absolutely no fussing with these two. They are 2 very powerful units, whom you can make even more powerful however you choose to promote them. This is just an awesome addition. I always use these 2 anyway, but to get them earlier and to see them develop the way I want to is really cool. Expanded inventory. Fam, in the original Shining Force, every character had their own private inventory. An inventory of 4 slots. After you equip a weapon and a ring, you have an entire 2 slots left for anything and everything else that you might want, like healing seeds. And if you find a chest in battle and you already have 4 items in your inventory, you can't claim the chest, so you need to throw away something or send someone else to collect the contents. Well, Shining Force, the Resurrection of Dark Dragon, now gives you 8 inventory slots. 1 4-slot inventory for weapons and rings, and 1 4-slot inventory for anything else. So now you can equip a weapon and multiple rings, and still have 4 slots left over for herbs, seeds, and found treasure. And let me tell you, 8 doesn't sound like a lot, but compared to 4, 8 is a crazy amount of space. Yoshitaka Tamaki returns to reimagine characters. Just about everyone who worked on Resurrection of the Dark Dragon is new, but original Shining Force artist Yoshitaka Tamaki has returned to reimagine his original characters. This is a great touch and adds a bit of nostalgia bait to the game. And the man cooked really hard on these new designs. Most of the pre-promotion default designs are pretty close to the original designs, but promoted unit designs are mostly different. Most of them look great, like each paladin has a different primary color along with differing armor and shield designs. The three wizards all look great with slightly different designs, and one-off characters like Hanzo, Musashi, and Gunz all look fantastic. There are a couple of designs that I'm not 1000% happy with, like Xylo, but overall, it's great to have Tamaki back. R.I.P. Expanded music. The original Shining Force had some decently fun, if somewhat overused music. Some of those arrangements that you will hear dozens and dozens of times are less than a minute long. Now, each piece of music has additional bars which extend the compositions and make them a lot easier on the ears. Stuff I do not like. The graphics? For some reason I put about 20 question marks after that. While for the most part the in-game graphics range between okay and good, some of the colors are supremely washed out. The battle graphics are the most egregious of this fact. The GBA was well known for its initial form lacking any sort of backlighting at all, so a lot of game devs would tweak colors to be more vibrant than actually needed to be. The issue now is that when playing on a totally legal, actual, real backlit GBA, these vibrant colors are way too vibrant. They're too bright and too washed out. Some of the game's colors, especially once again the combat graphics, are just heinous to look at. Also, remember in the OG Shining Force, a couple of characters get new portraits when they're promoted? Max, Adam, and Blue specifically? Well, now only Max gets a portrait change, which isn't a huge deal, but seeing Blue transform from a cute dragon to a terrifying dragon, and somehow retaining his cute little baby face for the portrait, just takes me out of the moment. Plus, every single character's portrait background color now is yellow. In the OG game, you had greens and browns and blues and pinks, but now everybody's portrait background color is yellow. Why? Magic resistance. Hey, but I thought you said this was a thing that you liked. Oh, it is, but I also hate it. The issue is that it's a two-bladed sword. Yes, magic resistance will help you stay alive against big magic users, but it will also keep enemies alive while fighting your big magic users. You all know that I love my mages. Hell, Tao is the mascot for the channel. I often bring all mages with me. Tao, Anri, and Aleph, and sometimes Domingo too. Late game enemies in Shining Force generally have high hit points and also high dodge, so attacking with Xylo or Gort or Gunz or whoever means that you have a very high chance of missing. And even if you do hit, taking 20 HP off a monster that has 60 HP means that you still have a lot of work to do. So having a mage with high-powered spells makes the endgame a lot easier. Rush in with Aleph or Henri and hit with a level 4 spell and see enemies take boatloads of damage. The problem is now, with magic resistance, a lot of enemies, especially bosses, have high magic resistance. It is very discouraging to hit a dude with a high-level bolt or freeze spell for it to do only 2 or 3 damage. You know, as opposed to like 50 or 60 damage from the original SF. This basically makes all of your mages useless. Is it an even trade? I mean, I guess so, but I would gladly give up my own magic resistance to have Tao be useful again. Spells are broken again. Fam, remember how they changed how the spells worked in Sword of Heija? Changing the MP cost of spells and how many units you can hit with them? Well, they did it again for Resurrection of Dark Dragon. The beauty of the spells in the original SF games 1, 2, and 3 and all of the Gaiden games except for Sword of Heija is that they all follow a similar pattern. Level 1 spells generally only hit 1 unit from 2 spaces away and cost only a couple of MP. Level 2 and 3 spells are a bit more powerful but hit multiple units. Level 4 spells cost the most but only hit 1 dude. The minutia of the spells adds to the beauty of the spells. Blaze doesn't hit as hard as Freeze or Bolt, but it is very affordable to cast. Freeze is generally a bit stronger than Blaze and hits from an additional space away with levels 3 and 4. Bolt costs the most MP, but even level 1 Bolt hits 5 dudes, level 2 and 3 can hit 13 units, level 4 for all 3 spells hits just 1 unit. but that level 4 spell hits hard. So you are sacrificing area of effect to hit just a single unit for a lot of damage. Beautiful, wonderful, amazing, great setup. Well, all of that has changed. Level 3 is the spell that only hits one dude, whereas level 4 hits a cross of 5 dudes. It throws the balancing out of the window. Now you have Blaze 4 and Freeze 4 hitting 5 dudes for high damage. Or it would be high damage if the enemies didn't have loads of magic resistance. Maybe this change was done to help change damage output versus the new magic resistance stat, but it just feels like they took a really basic magic system from the OG game and added some new rules that don't really expand it, but kind of make it somehow worse. Too Long didn't listen, bench all magic users immediately. I'm sorry, Tao. Some characters not named Hanzo or Musashi have been rebalanced, but are actually worse off now. So, as I mentioned above, Hanzo and Musashi join earlier and are super fun to level up and promote. Most characters have not changed too much from the original game. Characters like Gort or Luke are basically identical to how they were in the OG game. But unfortunately now, some characters are actually worse off. And weirdly enough, it's the characters who were already bad that are now even more bad. Lyle, Blue, Aleph, Tarasu, and Adam. These are 5 units you get very, very late into the game who are unpromoted and at low level. These 5 characters can be decent, but you really need to work for them. Blue and Adam are both well known in the SF community for being almost not worth it at all. I like to use them both, but it does take a lot of babysitting to get them good enough to put in your team. All 5 of these characters are pretty decent, but you basically have to stop and grind them all when they join, and a lot of people just don't like grinding. I like grinding though. I like to see my characters increase in strength, so I have no problem with using any of these characters in the OG game. They can all be pretty useful. But in Resurrection of the Dark Dragon, Blue and Adam are now very much not worth it. Lyle becomes an okay archer with enough work, Aleph becomes a very powerful bolt mage with enough work, Tarasu becomes a very powerful healer with enough work. But Blue and Adam are both incredibly mediocre, even with grinding. In the original game, Blue's attack power and HP both skyrocket if you promote them at level 20, and then grind some levels out of them. Adam gets pretty high attack and HP with a huge defense increase if you promote him at level 20 and then grind him. But in Resurrection of the Dark Dragon, promoting them at level 20 and then wringing another 20 levels out of them nets you 2 very average characters. Average HP, average attack, average defense. Blue flies, but that doesn't mean much when he hits as hard as Eamon now. Both of these characters are much worse off in this remake. Doing hardcore grinding like a level-up sicko in the OG game nets you 2 very powerful characters, if you have the patience for them, but now, all of that patient grinding only gets you 2 average units. Massive letdown. Stuff I am mostly indifferent about, but we'll talk about just because other people will probably want to hear about it. The Collectible card system. So, as mentioned, one of the new characters, Moloch, can use cards in battle. These cards are collected by talking to your units in between battles, by finding them in chests, by finding them in bookshelves, etc. There's 50 of them, 1 for each member of your force, but also a bunch for enemy bosses and monsters. Moloch can bring 4 cards into battle with him, and he can use the cards in different ways. Copy allows him to copy the ability of the character on the card. Imitate summons a copy of the card's character. Effect lets you use the effect of a card, kind of like a spell. And Move allows you to give the character on that card an additional action that round. So, all in all, it sounds like this gives Moloch a lot of use, and I guess that's probably the case, but truthfully, I never really used him that much. I found the way that the cards work to be rather cumbersome. A lot of the effects cost loads of MP, and I mean loads of MP. Using the copy effect means that Moloch usually needs to be right next to an enemy to do an attack, and only being able to bring 4 into battle with you is pretty limited. You can eventually find Moloch's card, and that will allow you to recharge the cards that you have used in battle, but that still doesn't feel like a lot. I don't know. I am sure there is some high-level Moloch play out there, but I'd rather just send in Hanzo or Zuika to kill enemies with a single hit. New Game Plus. Okay, fam, they gave Shining Force a New Game Plus, and it's kinda shitty, but still, I'll put it here on the indifferent list as opposed to the did not like list. New Game Plus in many an RPG will allow you to replay the game but keep your levels or your gear, your skills, your money, and a lot of other stuff from the previous game. The New Game Plus in Resurrection of the Dark Dragon carries over your cards, and that's it. That's right, it does not allow you to carry over levels, experience, stats, gear, money, or anything that you might want. It allows you to carry over your cards. So if you really like Moloch, this is probably great for you. Also, in New Game Plus, Moloch will join you before the first battle as opposed to halfway through the game, so I guess that's something. So yeah, if you really like Moloch and want to play the whole game with him and all of his cards, New Game Plus is there for you. Now, New Game Plus does also increase the strength of enemy units, so if you're looking for a Shining Force-shaped challenge, you can definitely get one, but you don't really start seeing a noticeable increase in enemy strength until the 7th or 8th playthrough. Fam, I love Shining Force, but you will not see me play any game in that series 7 or 8 times in a row, especially if my levels, experience, skills, gear, money, etc. don't carry over. Characters are now 2 tiles high, so this edition is a little bit weird. It's not bad, but I felt it kinda detrimental sometimes. The original Shining Force, like most old school RPGs, was a tile-based experience. All of your dudes took up a single tile on the map. Now each character is 2 tiles high. This gives the characters extra pixels for the designs, allowing them to be larger and more detailed. But this can also be distracting when placing a unit. I found myself more than once attempting to set a character next to an enemy to attack, only to misjudge, click, and place my dude 1 tile off, meaning I missed out on an attack that round. This might just be me being clumsy though. Overall, I think that any long-time Shining fan should play Resurrection of Dark Dragon. Most of the updates are cool and really add to the experience. For the most part, the game looks and sounds good, and the new characters along with the earlier pickups of Hanzo and Musashi really make this remake feel like a different game. Subtract all the new stuff, good or bad, and this game really still is just Shining Force. And that's good! In case you didn't realize it by now, I am very keen on this series and I still love the original Shining Force. Overall, I still would choose the original Shining Force over the remake, but this one is a good distraction from time to time. Like, I've played through the original Shining Force probably about 20 times. Resurrection of Dark Dragon, I've played through 3 times. There's not a lot of Shining content these days. I mean, there's none. Shining Force 3 was released like in 1997 or whatever, and those quote-unquote modern games are just not the same thing. I feel like a real Shining game needs to have Camelot working on it, and while Resurrection of the Dark Dragon was not designed by Camelot, it is still based off of the OG Shining Force, so I'd say it passes and is worth a play. For RPG Fortress, I'm Richard. I'll see you next time, and don't forget to hug a cat. Goodbye for now.